Hello and welcome to this new episode on Imagine practicing yoga that feels like coming home for you and others. Many of us enter into the yoga world because we are seeking relief from the very systems we have learned to survive in: the pace, the pressure, the performance. But when our practice starts to mirror those same patterns, constant striving, endless comparison, doing instead of being, it just becomes another form of self abandonment dressed up as self care. We push harder on the yoga mat, thinking that we are balancing out our stressful life. We call it discipline. But sometimes it's just overriding our nervous system. Until one day, the body starts whispering, enough. And if we don't listen, those whispers turn into exhaustion, irritability, burnout, or even some form of physical challenge. And this is where trauma informed yin yoga becomes more than just a style of yoga. It becomes unlearning and re education in safety. Because the people who are best at holding others often struggle the most to be held themselves. We have learned that rest must be earned, that vulnerability equals weakness, that if we slow down, we will somehow lose our productivity. But the cost of that belief is high. Let me ask you here, have you ever been in a yoga class, maybe even one of your own classes, where everything seemed perfect on the outside, but it still didn't really feel like it landed? It happened to me before, both as a teacher and as a yoga student. I believed that the harder I worked on my mat, the more I would be able to fix the anxiety, the restlessness, the exhaustion carried inside me. But what I didn't realize back then was that what I actually needed wasn't more effort, it was safety, connection, and presence. I realized that I was holding space for everyone else while quietly abandoning myself, and I left those classes feeling energetically drained instead of nourished. For many of us, especially those of us who spend our lives caring for others, teaching, guiding, giving, that sense of safety, of being held, can feel unfamiliar. We are used to being the ones who hold space, not the ones being held. We have learned to show up strong, grounded, and composed, even when inside we are just running on fumes. But what if your practice could be the place where you are met where you are, where you don't have to fix, achieve, or perform, just be, where your nervous system gets to take a breath too? And that's the deeper invitation of trauma informed yin yoga. It's about creating the kind of internal space where you can finally unwind from constant doing and begin to remember how to rest. And when that happens, when you feel safe enough to soften, something shifts. The tears that have been sitting just beneath the surface finally start to move. The jaw unclenches. The mind stops scanning for what's next. You start to notice the small, almost imperceptible ways your body speaks to you. That's the kind of transformation we all crave, the quiet return to ourselves, to feel the depth of what we share or receive, to guide others from a place that feels whole, honest, and human. And if you happen to be a yoga teacher or space holder, this changes everything. You can rewire the way you show up through awareness and embodiment. Because when you feel safe in your own body, you don't have to perform presence anymore. You are presence. And the people around you will sense it. It's what makes your presence magnetic, grounded, trustworthy. But it's quite challenging to do that when you are running on empty, right? When you are constantly giving, constantly on, constantly holding space without ever being held yourself. And this is what so many space holders experience and struggle with, because they have never learned how to care for their own nervous system first. They are burned out, not because they are doing too much, but because they are doing it from a depleted nervous system. Then at some point, the realization arrives. You cannot teach nervous system regulation if you are constantly dysregulated yourself. You cannot create safety if you haven't yet felt it within yourself. And you cannot lead others into deep transformation if you are constantly running on empty. That's when burnout creeps in. Not because you don't love holding space for others, because you're pouring from an empty cup. Now imagine the opposite for a moment. Imagine walking into a class you're about to teach, not anxious, not performing, not rushing to get it right, but grounded, calm, centered. Your voice is steady. Your nervous system is attuned. You feel connected to your body and to the energy in the room, to your students as human beings, not just bodies in shapes. Your students will feel this, not because you're doing something special, but because they can sense your presence. When you learn to understand the language of the nervous system, to see the emotional and energetic layers beneath each asana, when you learn how to guide without rescuing or fixing, something changes. And that's the difference between teaching a yoga class and holding space, between performing yoga and facilitating transformation. And this is the kind of space holding that sustains you, that doesn't leave you drained at the end of the day, and keeps your spark alive even after years of guiding others. But here's the hard truth. If you do not learn the necessary tools, if you keep on holding space from a dysregulated state, if you keep bypassing your own needs while trying to meet everyone else's, burnout is inevitable. Believe me, I've been there. And your body will remind you. Your energy will run out eventually. And your teaching will start to feel like another job instead of your true calling or dharma. Even if you are not a yoga teacher or space holder, if you are simply someone who feels overstimulated, overwhelmed, or tired of holding it all together, this practice is for you too. You also deserve to experience what it's like to be supported instead of just supporting everyone else. And this is what I teach inside my trauma-informed yin yoga teacher training. Not just theory or sequencing, but nervous system literacy, attunement, empathy, the kind of presence that helps people feel safe just by being around you. But before you can practice and teach that, you have to experience it yourself first. Start with your own body and nervous system, because you cannot teach what you haven't lived yourself. Once you have experienced what true felt sense of safety feels like in your own body, you will naturally bring that to others. This is what trauma-informed yin yoga offers. Not just another certification to tick off on your list, but a way of being in your teaching and in your everyday life. And that's exactly what my free resource, the Emotional and Nervous System Yin Reset, is designed for. A chance for you to slow down, reconnect, and feel held for once. It's a free, approximately 1 hour experience that helps you move from overwhelm to the felt sense of safety through a gentle yin yoga practice, a short theory session, and guided reflection. And if you are ready to explore even more, you are invited to my upcoming free 3-day event called Yin Immersion, where we go even deeper into these topics. I will share the links for these free offerings in the description. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.